Paul's talking about how the practices have been so intense. I guess how satisfied have you been with just how much the guys have brought the energy?
Yeah, I mean, they bring the energy, they bring a passion about the game. And so, like I told the guys, I enjoy watching a group of people do something that they love at a high level. And so a lot of that stems from the guys, who they are, and you know, where they're at and how they want to compete. So it's fun to be a part of that.
Day 2 for Jrue, just how did he look out there?
Better, look comfortable. You know, I think sometimes we don't look at them as people. And like in 48 hours, he got traded twice. He's without his wife and kids, and he comes into a place to where there's like 5 or 6 guys that have been here for a long time, and as great as he is, he wants to make sure he is the best version of himself while fitting in, so that could be really hard for him. So I thought today he looked really comfortable and looked like at ease, and you know, for us to be great, like he has to be that for us.
He mentioned immediately once the trade went through, you sent him clips. What were those of, and what are you emphasizing?
Want to take a guess if it was defense or threes? Anybody want to take a guess?
Spacing.
Defense. I love defense.
Pick and roll defense?
It was pick and roll defense. It was a little bit of everything. So, you know, our staff has done a great job of putting together small videos for players, you know, throughout the week. And so it was a little bit of our defensive philosophy, our system. Our language is different than other places. The versatility that we have is different. And then, you know, we sent him all the offensive stuff. And then all his 3-point attempts from last season.
You send him a back.
No, I did not.
What makes him a good fit for the kind of defense you're going to be running this year, especially with Porzingis in the drop there?
Mindset. Just brings a level of versatility. He can guard 1 through 5. He can be physical. We can use him to guard different matchups. We can use him to maintain matchups. And so I think he brings a level of individual defensive pride and a mindset.
What made Charles a good fit for this staff? Him specifically, we talked a lot about building the staff there.
Yeah.
And what are his kind of responsibilities and ways he's helped so far?
Responsibilities? Babysit me. But he has he's worked for one of the best coaches in the last 20 years of the NBA. He's been an NBA champion. He's had NBA interviews, and just his humility and his approach to the game is a no-brainer to not have on your staff. And with the staff, I tried to pick one thing that they're all better than me at, so that you can rely on them to like empower them and be able to do that. And so I think Charles's ability to be like a little bit happier and positive, it's going to make me a better person.
You got the job so late in the game last year that you said you were kind of like in survival mode and just had to focus on like the biggest things. What were the smaller things that you wanted to change on like a day-to-day basis of how the team operates?
It's a great question. I think like initially it was like when I was an assistant, I really did a good job of being aware of like 8 through 15. Like that was my job, and I was on the court with those guys every day, and you kind of had that sweat equity. Because of my mindset last year, I probably lost the touch with 8 through 15 and kind of missed and didn't manage some of those relationships as well as I could have, as well as I did as an assistant. And then I think just like being on the court every day, like you have a tendency as a head coach to get stuck in your office sometimes because you're worried about the next game plan or the next thing like that. But like getting back to like being on the court early and getting your meetings and stuff out of the way so you could be out there. And so that's like another reason why I feel a little bit more comfortable, is because that's where I was at my best as an assistant, was just being down there with the guys.
So the leadership, you lost Marcus and Grant, 2 real talkers and 2 real guys who were vocal. Do you pull anybody aside and kind of tell them that they probably need to be more vocal, even though it might not be in their comfort zone? Or do you let them be comfortable? I mean, what's your job in terms of breaking them out of their comfort zone in that sense?
No, I think communication is hard for anybody to be able to do it like constantly over time. And so not as much one-on-one conversations, just stressing it as a team dynamic of like the best teams communicate when they're like fit and when they're tired. And so just getting each guy to get out of their comfort zone to be able to communicate. Listen, that could be tough for guys, but I think in order to be great, you have to do it.
Joe, you talk about trying to find that curveball this year. What's the process in finding what's right to become your curveball?
Yeah, so I think it's just what your team is willing to, what fits your personnel and what your team's willing to buy into. And I don't think you can go to a curveball if you don't have the trust from all 5 guys on the floor that like this can be something that we can go to. And so I think you have to experiment with a couple different things, whether it's in practice or whether it's throughout the preseason. And then you have to be able to like develop a level of trust between us and the players and say like, this is what we can go to. And so that's kind of what we're working on now.
And is that because it's something that they probably have not done before or not practiced? But like,
Yeah, I mean, it could be uncomfortable. Like, zone's one of those things where, like, if you go to it, it could make you feel uncomfortable. It's also the idea of, like, we're really, really good at our fastball. So, like, sometimes you have to ask yourself, why do we need a curveball? And that's probably the thing that I learned the most last year was, like, even though you have a really, really good fastball, you need one or two other things. But you can't get there unless you have, like, the buy-in. And then you got to have, like, the practice time with it.
Is the zone that you guys started to use a little bit in summer league, was that like kind of the beginning of experimenting with?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just getting as much data on film about like what it would look like, how would we teach it, would we even go to it, kind of stuff like that. But that was the beginning of like being open-minded towards the curveball.
Kristaps, I mean, the hope is he will provide one of those as well, right? How are you seeing him fitting in, and how steep is that learning curve?
Yeah, like his last, day one, again, similar to Jrue, is like a feeling out process. Like, how do I come here and stand out and fit in at the same time? And so day 2 and 3, he's been like just as comfortable. And I said the one thing to him is like, just because you're really, really good doesn't mean you can't get better. And so like pushing him to be really, really good is important for our team because he can be so much more, especially on a defensive end. Like, I don't think people appreciate his versatility at times, and so we have to be able to use that. And then what he can do on offense will make Jalen and Jason and Derek and our team better. And so just making sure he's comfortable, making sure he's constantly getting better.
Everybody full go today?
Yes.
You talked with JJ Redick about how badly he wanted the 1 seed last year, and then seeing what happened to Milwaukee as a result of that. Does that change at all how you're going to navigate the regular season?
I mean, I try to make sure that's how I navigate my life. You gotta be careful what you ask for sometimes because it may not be what's best for you. And so I think like as a first-year head coach, like you want that 1 seed to give you that like affirmation that like, yeah, we're the 1 seed coming in, and so that I could better answer your guys' questions. We didn't get it, but it's like it's just a life lesson of like you got to be careful what you ask for, and what you get, where you're exactly where you're supposed to be, regardless of what happens. And so if we get the 1 seed this year, it was supposed to happen. If we don't, it was supposed to happen. It's more about how you navigate it along the way. So that was just more of like a life lesson type thing. Is we can always want something, but we don't know if it's best for us or not. Yep.
So,
Thanks, Joe. You got it.
Thanks, Joe.